it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, we are discussing, kikiing, reviewing, recapping, yapping about the season finale of season 3 of The Gilded Age. This episode gave us so much, not only just as a finale, but so much to look forward to in season 4 since we have already been renewed. Shouts out to the whole crew. We love to see it. We're very excited about it. So let's get right into it. The episode starts with a literal bang, or rather, the episode preceding it ended with a bang, and now we're picking up on the end of that. George Russell is being rushed home via, horse-drawn ambulance. I just think that back then, like, hospitals weren't a thing like that. Or wait, is this more so because, oh yeah, they wanted to keep the police out of it. So if they went to a hospital, much like now, if you go to the hospital with a gunshot wound, automatic investigation. And because they are just now getting back on their feet in terms of the business, George doesn't want the police to get wind of it, and then the newspapers to get wind of it, and then investors get sketchy and shaky about, like, why would you get shot like that? It's crazy. So they're asking for everyone's discretion, except between the staff at the Russell household and the staff at the Van Ryn household, there's a lot of people who know about this. And even though they got the gossip out of the house, I still just question the discretion of that much staff, to be quite honest with you, but we're going to suspend disbelief. Now, fortunately for George Russell, Dr. Kirkland was right across the street to confront Peggy about these rumors, but they never got around to it. Dr. Kirkland rushes over, gets in there, triages the wound and all of the things, and he's a superstar. And Marion runs over there and she hikes up her dress and gets on top of the table and starts assisting with this surgery in this makeshift OR, and everything turns out fine. Now, this was a really brave move for Dr. Kirkland, because had he not survived, everyone would have blamed the Black doctor, but because everything went well, fortunately people are giving him his credit, and mad props due and whatnot. And George Russell even goes so far as to offer him a monetary reward for his service, his loyalty, his discretion, all of the things. Now, because of the way they zoomed in on that handshake, I'm very curious if this is going to come back to haunt Dr. Kirkland in some kind of way, but we'll get to that later. So Dr. Kirkland pops over to Peggy's house before everyone heads to Newport, and Peggy is like, oh my God, is he about to propose? And her mom is like, oh my God, is he about to propose? And what it actually is that he's spraying her with her own tea. And I, again, completely forgot about the nuances or the intricacies of what actually happened with Peggy. It wasn't that she was like this unwed mother. I completely forgot about how her father betrayed her in trying to hide this relationship and getting the marriage annulled, and that the baby didn't die. The baby was taken from her and then subsequently died after it was put up for adoption. Like, I completely forgot about that, and the struggle that it was for her to get back in tune, back on the right track with her parents. So we're very grateful for that. But the way that Dr. Kirkland, he has all this reticence now to move forward, especially because this has just solidified his mom just not wanting this marriage to work out, right? Like, she never really saw it for Peggy, but now that she sees Peggy as this discarded woman, she's now even more sure that they shouldn't move forward with this. And he feels like that's just going to be an insurmountable obstacle for them as a couple, which is fair. And he just kind of leaves without giving her very much, and just is like, I'll write to you. That's like saying, okay, I'm going to call you. And it's like, okay, we don't trust that. And it sucks because it's like, yeah, he's in shock, but also, is this really that big of a deal? Back then it was. Let me turn off my 2025 brain. So Larry and Marion are still on the rocks. Even though Marion swept in and like saved his father's life, Larry's problem is that Marion didn't trust him. Marion didn't take his word for it. Marion believed Jack. And he's just like, things are going to be difficult for us, like in a marriage. Like he's seen a marriage face difficulties, and he wants to be reassured that for every difficulty that occurs, Marion won't just walk out. But he also fails to realize that Marion has earned the anxiety that she has. She's earned her trust issues. Like she's been living a life just like he has. And it's like their traumas or their fears are kind of bumping up against each other, and things got messy so quickly, to be fair, because Marion kind of jumped the gun without even hearing him out. So they're both right. They're both, both parties are right and both parties are wrong. And fortunately, because Bertha saw how Marion swept in and helped to resolve the situation, helped to literally treat her husband's wounds, she's had a change of heart about Marion, because she sees that she's not just a debutante. She's not the average woman. Like she got some business about herself. So even Aunt Agnes has come around to wanting them to move forward. And, Ada tells her, like, you had all of these, like, all this promise of stability from your husband, and you can't even really remember what your marriage was like. That kind of stability that you speak of is not a guarantee of a happy or even a stable life, because there were hints that she experienced some abuse within her marriage. So again, another person, Aunt Agnes, has a change of heart about Larry and Marion, and encourages Marion to, like, if you really, if this is the person that you want and you can see having a happy life with him, go to him, apologize, and fix it. But, with everything going on, it's like now is not the time or the place. So the time or the place could possibly be the ball, but Marion feels like, bro, don't even want to see me. I ain't even gonna go. Okay. I'm not even gonna slide through there. And it's like, girl, you was always gonna go, but okay. Now we got to pull over right here, because Oscar is determined to have a lavender marriage come hell or high water, right? And I'm guessing that this is maybe in response to John Adams passing away. It's like, did you not learn your lesson with Maud Beaton? But I think the difference here is Mrs. Winterton is just as much of a shady ass bitch as Oscar is. So they might actually be a really good match, because they clocked each other's tea, season 1? So Oscar wants a relationship, a partnership, a business partnership, an arrangement, a lavender marriage with Mrs. Winterton, since she's now widowed, and decides that he can leverage Bertha's desire for Larry and Marianne to be together against getting Mrs. Winterton an invite to this ball, which she otherwise wouldn't have gotten because of how she was a messy, rotten ass bitch in previous seasons. So he and Bertha strike a deal, so they convince Marion to go to the ball. Also, because Bertha is being very brave and inviting Aurora and Mrs. Astor's daughter, 2 women who are divorced, facing divorce, in the middle of scandal, whatnot. Marion needs to escort Aurora as well. So there's a lot of reasons for her to go outside of Larry wanting to see her or not, right? So let's pull over to the Black people. I am so happy that Peggy has such a strong bond with her parents and that they stand by her. And I'm so happy that Miss Dorothy got Elizabeth Kirkland ass together in that dressmaker shop and got her together spiritually with a Bible verse. Girl, we have all fallen short of the grace of God, okay? And you out here thinking that you have the privilege of not operating with compassion or grace with people, and that shit stops here, because my daughter deserves all the good things in the world. You nasty bitch. That's, that was the subtext of what was being said, right? So I'm thrilled that she finally stopped with the propriety and just finally told her to kiss her ass in so many ways, or so many words. Did you guys notice there are very strong parallels between Bertha Russell and Elizabeth Kirkland in this episode? Both of them are on the outs with the men in their lives because of how they have navigated things. And the way the pastor addressed Elizabeth Kirkland, his wife, about how she spread gossip and interfered in this relationship with the woman that their son is in love with, we're getting hints that this isn't her first time, that she's obviously wielded this kind of power, obviously or we're guessing, right, over Dr. Kirkland's other siblings, because we see how she is about the grandchildren and making sure that they're still very fair skinned and that they all look a certain kind of way. So it looks like Elizabeth Kirkland has managed within her family much in the same way that Bertha Russell has. And both of those, what is it, chickens are coming home to roost? Because the pastor was fed up with Elizabeth and was just like, why would you do this? And like, this is the woman that he loves. Why would you interfere and then go and further spread gossip about this woman? This was a situation that was kind of isolated to Philadelphia. Now you've brought it here and you've disgraced her even further. And you know, from Elizabeth Kirkland's perspective, she's like, I'm just trying to protect my family. And it's like, yeah, but you need to look at what that protection and that love looks like. And this is why Bell Hooks tells us we have to have a collective definition of what love means so that we aren't out here making sure that love isn't a gift for the receiver, to quote Toni Morrison. You know, like in one of her books, Toni Morrison says that like love is not a gift for the person who receives it. And a lot of that has to do with our relationship to love, our relationship to grace and to compassion, and how much compassion we give ourselves. So there's a lot there, and I'm curious if we'll get to know the ins and outs and the whys of why Mrs. Kirkland is the way that she is. We can only suspect that it is because of not only patriarchy, but also racism. She came up in a time that we can't really begin to even understand, even from, you know, I think it's, we can read and we can like watch TV, but to actually live that way. And like I said, I give grace to our elders who tried to pass and who leaned into the colorism and the texturism and the whatnot, because we don't know what it meant for your life to be dependent on the way you look, the way you speak. And we know now in 2025 that respectability politics don't really work in terms of our advancement or our safety. Under any of these systems. But back then, they didn't know that. It was like, well, let's just do what we can to follow these certain rules and maybe we'll get ahead in life. And it did work for some of them. If you were lighter skinned, you had better chances of going into more professional careers, of getting into colleges and really advancing your life post slavery. That just, you know, again, I can give grace, but it's also really shitty to do. But again, these parallels between Elizabeth Kirkland and Bertha Russell, you want to empathize with the fact that these women didn't have business of their own. Their business was their family. And if men could be ruthless in business, why wasn't it okay for these women to be ruthless in how they wielded what power they did have in order to, from their perspective, protect their families? So we can give some grace, but also accountability, you know? So I'm really happy that the pastor encouraged William Kirkland to like listen to his heart, to follow, you know, all the things or whatever, knowing that I think in so many words, he was just saying like, if this is who you want to be with, I will support you and we'll figure this out together. And this makes me think about a conversation somebody was having on Twitter where they were like, men really don't trust their own taste when it comes to women. I think that men adhere to perceived beauty standards even harder than we do, because I think men want to be perceived a certain way based on their partner. Much in the same way that we do, you know, obviously, like you don't want, I think our fear is like maybe similar to their fear, right? Is you don't want nobody to embarrass you. But I think that we are socialized to be desirable in a way that men are not socialized to be desirable. And I think that that kind of plays into why it is that men care so much about what other men think about the woman that they choose. There was a content creator, she was a former dancer from Atlanta, and she talked about how whenever a celebrity would get a dance from her, like if she was like the dancer for that like celebrity, I think at the time, this was like early 2000s, it was like Lil Wayne. If Lil Wayne danced her all night, every guy for the rest of the week wanted to dance from her because she got this like seal of approval from Lil Wayne. And I think that a lot of men still submit to that idea of not trusting that the woman that they like would be acceptable to the rest of the world or to other men. And I'm not well versed enough to understand the ins and outs and the whys of that, but it is something that I've noticed. Like, I think a lot of men are attracted to women who defy the convention of, you know, what we're taught is supposed to be beautiful, but they're too afraid of being judged for that. So even if you like people who are like closeted into like bigger women, that's so crazy, because just like what you like. Why are you that afraid of another man's opinion of what you like? But anyway, said all that to say, I'm happy that Dr. Kirkland's dad encouraged him to go for Peggy. So Peggy ends up getting this dream proposal at the Black People Ball, okay, in Newport. And I love the way the scene was shot, the way that it slowed down as she was like turning. Her dress was so beautiful. I love how textured their hair is, even in these Gilded Age styles. I love that the hair wasn't like pressed out bone straight, that there was still some texture to it. Everyone looked absolutely beautiful. I love even seeing like the behind the scenes footage of like the Black people. It's just so, it's so cute. I want to go to set, honestly. So we're thrilled that our girl gets her dream proposal. Meanwhile, at the White People Ball, Mrs. Astor decides to pull up to support her daughter so she can stop being a hateful bitch. So I think it's also because the Duke is there, right? I think that also makes people feel like, oh, well, if a Duke is there, then whoever is there must be okay. So once again, we look to men to give us the seal of approval that how we operate is okay. This like patriarchal imperialist man, actually, since he is a part of like the British noble family, it's British nobility. I just think it's fascinating that that plays into people feeling comfortable being there with these divorcees and the scourge of divorce. Girl, it's not a pandemic. Nobody's gonna die from divorce, like, my God. But I do also understand like why this was such a big deal back then. George shows up and surprises Bertha, and poor Bertha misreads this as thinking that, okay, they're back on good terms and everything is fine. And George is like, baby, I came here in the interest of business. Now, someone online pointed out the bottle of laudanum that's there. Laudanum is an opiate, and a lot of people got addicted to that. So I think that we're being set up for an addiction storyline next season. But I was really devastated watching this conversation between George and Bertha, because it was giving that horrible conversation between Shiv and Tom from Succession, where, you know, George is like, I can't forgive that you basically forced me into forcing our daughter into a marriage that you felt was best for her. And Bertha is like, but she is happy. And he's like, but it shouldn't have had to come about in this way. I still think that George is being a bit harsh on her, because again, George is saying that like, I'm ruthless in business, you're ruthless with the people that you love. And she's like, it's for the people that I love. George also doesn't understand Bertha is a woman. Bertha, where else is she going to put her ambition? She can't go and open a business. She can't go and lead people. She can only lead her family. She can only lead society. That's where her power is. Like, the family is her business. And I don't think that there's a lot of grace being given to that. And I felt really badly for Bertha, because he really like basically was like, we about to just do a trial separation, because after I done got shot and stared down death, I don't even know, you know, this something I want to do no more. I was thinking very naively as well that like, oh, he almost died. Maybe this will bring them closer. He said, baby, this just made me realize I ain't sure this is where I want to be at all. And my heart broke for Bertha. But Gladys and her bangs came in and delivered great news right on time that she is pregnant. So we can assume that her and the Duke, that she liked the boinking. So good for her and the Duke. She sees that as being her home and him as her family. And it looks like that's progressing really well. So that's another storyline for next season, is watching Bertha. I think this will also give Bertha somewhat of a lifeline. She still has a family to hold on to. And this thing that she so ruthlessly fought for is bearing fruit, right? So maybe that will be what brings her and George back together, because I do not want to see these people divorce, okay? So Larry and Marion make up. Thanks to their community swooped in and said, y'all need to fix this, okay? But I am curious, like, does this mean the engagement is back on, or does this mean that they're gonna work back towards the engagement? Because they were like, we can't fix everything tonight, okay? But is y'all gonna get married though? Like, where do we leave that? Lastly, I am so looking forward to a storyline between Jack and Bridget. If they really build out that character development, like, I would watch a little spinoff about them, to be honest. Like, they both come from humble beginnings. He done found a way out. She shot her shot. She found a way to come over there. Like, of course you wanted to come over there and deliver him some food because he was looking thin. I bet he did, girl. I bet he did. I see what you're doing, Bridget, and I like it. Okay, and I like that Jack asserted himself where he was like, well, I'm the master of this house. And I said, somebody's going to write some fanfic because there are some power dynamics here at play that somebody is going to write some fabulous smut about, and I want to read it. So this episode, this season finale, tied everything up in a really nice bow for us. They gave us a good bit of cliffhangers. We have a lot to look forward to in season 4. I hope that we get some surprises in season 4. I wonder if Clay is the person who had George shot, but I just feel like that's too easy. So I'm excited to see what happens with that storyline. I'm glad that Aunt Agnes has a new purpose, that she's been asked to be on the board or as the vice president of this heritage society, because that shit does matter a lot to her. And I'm also happy that she allowed Ada to sit at the head of the table and recognizes that she is now leading the family and handling business. So again, everything was tied in a nice, neat little bow. Looking forward to the next season. Let me know what you guys thought of this season and the finale as a whole, and we will talk soon. Bye. Oh, subscribe, comment, share, all the things. Join the Patreon. Okay.